Welcome back to the channel and thank you for watching. The long-awaited interviews by Camille Vasquez and Ben Chew are finally being aired. So I thought it'd be really interesting to play this for you and to give you my views as an English barrister. Let's get into the interview and I'll tell you what I think of their comments as we go through.
Why do you think the jury didn't believe her? Because when you look at the verdict, it really comes down to that. The issue was, is what she's saying true or false? And by their verdict, they said it's false.
Well, my sense is that it had a lot to do with accountability, that Johnny owned his issues. He was very candid about his alcohol and drug issues. He was candid about some unfortunate texts that he wrote. And I think it was a sharp contrast to Ms. Heard, who didn't seem, or at least the jury may have perceived that she didn't take accountability for anything.
As you know, this
is an absolutely valid point because the jury do take into account whether someone is being honest, dishonest, whether they are owning their mistakes and their behavior, and whether what they say in their evidence is open and transparent. If they feel that someone is holding something back, not owning their mistakes or not owning prior behavior which could go against them because they feel like it's going to hinder their case in some way, or by making the other party look worse because they have mistakes and they don't. This is going to be an important factor weighing on the mind of a jury, because the jury do want to see that people will be open and honest about any of their mistakes and their past history. So let's listen on.
This has been closely watched, and in the Me Too context, some people have wondered whether there is a larger resonance to this trial, whether it sends a message. Do you see any larger message beyond the case you tried?
No. I mean, frankly, we don't. We're here to talk about the case that we tried, right? We encourage all victims to come forward, have their day.
So just pausing there, this is exactly the point that I've been making. This should be seen as the trial itself. The trial in its own right for the case that was tried, for the allegations that were put across. And it is not and should not be about the wider issue. It is about one trial and one set of allegations. Let's listen on.
Have their day in court, which is exactly what happened in this case.
Amber Heard's attorney was right here the day after the verdict, and she said the jury had not been permitted to see certain evidence that would have bolstered and verified Amber Heard's claims of abuse, in particular therapist notes. What is your response to that? And was there evidence that was suppressed for a valid legal reason that might have made a difference?
I think that was very disappointing to hear that, and to hear her impugn the character of the jury. And the evidence came in that should come in, and the judge was very fair to both sides.
Just pausing there, again, this echoes the points that I've made in my previous videos, so I'm very pleased that Ben Chew has made those comments there, because I personally felt that it wasn't a good move to criticize the jury, and equally wasn't a good move to say that evidence has been suppressed, because to say that evidence has been suppressed would suggest that there's some foul play in the legal process, or that the judge made mistakes, or that the jury made mistakes in evidence that they considered. But Ben Chew's comments confirm his view that the judge had acted fairly and the evidence was there for the jury to consider.
I should mention the jury did find Mr. Depp responsible for defamation for one of the statements made by his lawyer. It accused her essentially of staging a scene in furtherance of an abuse hoax. How do you square that finding with the rest of the verdict, Camille?
I think it's just the verdict is overwhelmingly positive for Johnny, and it was unanimous. There were 7 people that decided he was defamed.
As you well know, the law does not favor a plaintiff like Johnny Depp in a defamation case like this. The burden is very high, the threshold is high, and he crossed it. Frankly speaking, were you stunned at this victory? Ben?
Well, we had ultimate confidence in Johnny and the jury and the facts of this case, and you can only hope that the jury will see it. And in this case, they did, and the verdict was overwhelmingly in his favor.
Just pausing there, I have to agree that the verdict was overwhelmingly positive, because whilst there was one piece that went against him, my discussion with many other lawyers has been that because that was so detailed, that that one part went against him. But it is good to see as well, and good to hear, that Johnny's lawyers had full confidence in him. And as always, a lawyer can represent a case regardless of whether they believe in the case and they believe in their client or not. Lawyers are not obliged, Ben Chew, Camille Vasquez are not obliged to go onto an interview and to give their views like this, but they can if they wish so. There was a time when we as barristers were not allowed to comment to the media on any of our cases. That was lifted, and now we can air our views, we can give our comments and views and opinions, and it's good to see that Ben and Camille are doing this because it does show that they do have faith in their case and in their client. Let's listen on.
Did you speak to your client right after the verdict? What was his reaction in the moment?
I think just an overwhelming sense of relief. I was speaking with another friend of ours, a mutual friend of Johnny's and ours, and he said, I haven't seen Johnny smile like that in 6 years.
The weight of the world is off of his shoulders. He's got his life back.
Do you know this?
And just pausing there again, these are words that have really resonated with a lot of people, that he's had his life given back to him by the jury. Indeed, they were part of the closing submissions. They were part of Johnny Depp's statement release afterwards, that he's got his life back. And I can say, hand on heart, for any client that I've dealt with and still dealing with, and any clients that I know colleagues have dealt with that are going through any legal process, however big or small, you don't need to be rich or famous to be really overwhelmed by the legal process. Even if it's a very small claim for just a small amount of money, the process can chew up every waking moment of every day. And so to be under such pressure for so long, 6 years in this case, and in many cases, in many clients' cases, they do go on for many years, and they do chew up lives for many years. So I can wholeheartedly relate. And I've had my own legal battles in the past, way before I became a lawyer. One of the reasons I became a barrister in the first place, and even started my chambers and my law firm in the first place, was because we had legal issues of our own. We went through this process ourselves. We had these difficulties ourselves. And when it was finally over, we felt like we could finally get on with our lives. And I decided to turn that into a positive and to become a barrister, to become a lawyer, and to become a legal services provider so that we can help other people to overcome these difficulties of dealing with cases like this, because it is difficult. It does chew up your every waking moment. So I can wholeheartedly relate to that. So let's listen on.
Trial was very closely watched. Social media certainly took off in a way that we've seen high-profile trials before, but this is the social media age. Do you believe the jurors saw any of that, were swayed by any of that?
No, I don't think there's any reason to believe that the jurors violated their oath. And again, that suggestion was disappointing to hear.
Yeah, I mean, Amber Heard's...
Just pausing there again echoing my comments previously on Popcorn Planet. I absolutely don't believe that the jury would have been swayed, would have been tempted to sway by any kind of social media or any research or anything like that. In fact, it's ironic that Elaine Brederhoff's comments that the jury must have researched this case and therefore must have been swayed by what they researched. If indeed that were the case, they would have researched it and found the UK decision, and by her logic would have been swayed that it was already decided in the UK, as she's now stating in the media. So had they done that, it's actually the wrong way round. Had they done that, they're more likely to have been swayed by finding the UK verdict, the UK judgment against Johnny Depp. But ultimately, I agree with Ben here. I don't think for a moment that there's anything to suggest that this jury has been swayed or even been tempted to sway from the evidence presented in court. Let's listen on.
The lawyer said so. She said it would have been unavoidable because it's on TikTok, it's on social media. I mean, in the old days, you'd tell the jury before they went out, don't read newspapers, don't watch the evening news. Now it's everywhere.
It is everywhere, but at the same time, they were admonished every single night. And they had a tremendous amount of respect, I think, for the court and the process, and they were doing the best that they could.
In particular, she cites the UK judgment. As we all know, Johnny Depp sued The Sun, a newspaper in the United Kingdom. He lost that case, the judge finding that claims by the newspaper that he was a wife-beater were substantially true. Now, Amber Heard's lawyers say that judgment should have come into this court case. What say you?
was a different process, right? And also Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard in this case were the parties. They had different disclosure obligations. So we disagree. The overwhelming evidence that was presented in this case in Virginia far exceeded what was presented in the UK, and we believe the jury got it right.
Absolutely right. I agree with every word. It echoes everything I've been saying so far. So thank you, Camille, for echoing everything that I've said in my analysis, everything that I've said in all of my videos so far. Different process, different defendants, different disclosure obligations, and ultimately the right evidence was heard in the US trial, and the jury came to a verdict, and what seems to be, in all of our view on here, the right verdict. Thank you for watching. Please make sure you drop a like and subscribe on my channel. I really appreciate all of that. I appreciate you watching my videos and taking the time to subscribe. And in the meantime, as always, thank you for watching.